Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Wow. Julie, it is Tuesday. It is December 19th. There are 5 shopping days until Christmas. But Julie Gunlock doesn't mind.
That's right. I'm done.
She's done. She's done. I know the rest of us are just done, but Julie is done, which is fantastic. That's Julie Gunlock. I'm Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor here on O'Connor and Company. It's 8:07 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news. Happy Tuesday, everybody, to all of you. Listen, later on in the show, we're going to continue to talk about this reconciliation monument being removed in Arlington National Cemetery. There's been a stay granted by a federal judge. Lots of controversy surrounding that, too. In the meantime, on Friday evening, as I was coming home from the district, this story broke about this Senate staffer engaged in, shall we say, an explicit activity within the confines of a Senate hearing room. The story continued to get stranger and stranger over the weekend. Joining me right now is Chris Palombi. Joining us right now. How gauche of me, Julie, to say just joining me. Joining us right now, Chris Palombi, who's a former Capitol Police officer, to talk about this. This was my reaction. It was a reaction of my colleague, Jerry Rogers. I know it was Julie's reaction as well, Chris. I mean, this is a hearing room on the Senate in the aftermath of January 6th, where we know there are cameras everywhere. How did this go unnoticed? What's going on with security up on the Senate?
Yeah, hey, good morning, Andrew and Julia. Thanks for having me on. But it's absolutely disgusting. I think it shows the disregard and morality for the law that we have in our country right now. And this kind of behavior obviously cannot be tolerated. And as you said, the amount of cameras that there are throughout the buildings, the amount of officers that are there in the buildings too, it's very, very interesting that you have Senator Cardin's office over the weekend make a point in saying that they have no further comment on the personal matter.
Right.
When there are obviously tons of questions regarding this. I saw last night that there was a journalist, Manu Raju,
Yes.
that questioned Senator Cardin outside of the Capitol building last night, and Senator Cardin refused to answer any details about it, said he didn't want to discuss any personal information
He said he's angry.
And he said he's angry about it, as he should be. But again, some of the information that I found out that's been reported already is that the room has to be reserved.
Yes.
And it looks as if his staffer, it was reserved under Senator Cardin's name.
Yes.
We need answers about that. Capitol Police, they have their hands tied regarding the situation, too, of how they're handling this as well. And unfortunately, it seems that they're a little preoccupied, unfortunately, with too many other things. But I think it comes down to there are legal ramifications that need to be made regarding the staffer and the second person involved with this as well.
Yeah,
And we
sorry,
don't
go ahead,
even
Julie.
know. We don't even know who that second. That hasn't been revealed yet, right? The second staffer who looks to be the one filming.
To my knowledge, no, there hasn't been. But again, I mean, there's 2 people involved with that act, and with DC Code Section 22-1312, it's for lewd and indecent and obscene acts, which obviously took place. And then there's also another, if you're taking a look at the DC law, you have or federal law, you have 18 U.S.C. 1752, which is trespassing, which we know how much the Justice Department
Absolutely.
Loosely played that with January 6th.
Right.
Now, it comes into place if this wasn't done with official business. So
Yes.
the statement says, the U.S. Code says, trespassing covers anybody who knowingly enters or remains in any restricted building or grounds without lawful authority. Obviously, they weren't doing official business in that room. So that comes into play for this too. And I think you have U.S. Capitol Police, which, they've unfortunately haven't had too much with the leadership. I'll say there's a lot of great men and women in that department, but
Right.
the leadership does not have trust with the public. But however, they don't answer to the public. They're the only police department in the whole country that is under the legislative branch. So
Right.
obviously they're going to answer to the members of Congress. So they have their hands full with this.
Yeah, without a doubt here. Let me ask you this, not to get well, actually, I'm going to get specific, but if you tell me you can't answer this question, because this was the thing. They obviously reserve the room. There are cameras in these rooms that are they going 24/7? I mean, does someone have to turn them off? Does someone have to affirmatively turn them on? I mean, I'm a little confused. Sort of, I'm wrapping my head around what the Okay, I don't want to use the phrase gymnastics, but I'm going to use the phrase gymnastics that were involved in getting this tryst set up.
Tryst.
Yeah, it's
Listen,
very well put.
I gotta, Julie. If I can't use some kind of creative
Andrew's
language here, I'm
working
just
so
going to be
hard
disgusted
here.
by it. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, well, I'll put it this way. I would start demanding that Speaker Johnson would use his powers as Speaker to get those videotapes released.
Yes.
Just knowing where the room is, where it's located. There are cameras that should be able to tell us the timing when they went in the room, if anybody else went in there, and it should be timestamped as well.
No, it absolutely should. I'm sorry, Julianne, do you have a question here? No, so I mean, it's a situation in which, as you said, it all depends on how much power the Capitol Police want to exercise in this matter. And we now know that between the Capitol Police and the Justice Department, an amazing amount of investigation can be done to track down who these people are, especially the second person. And as we've said, there are rumors out there as to this person's identity. But we know that people can be found out, right? Between the crowdsourcing that can be done, while at the same time, whether or not it's soliciting for the cell phone data of people who were on the site at the time, we should be able to figure out who this person is, shouldn't we?
Absolutely, we should. And even digging down further, it's not only finding out who that person is, but also demanding answers from Senator Cardin and his office for why this individual was employed with them in the first place, and not take responsibility for what they did.
And also there's accountability on the part of the Senate Judiciary Committee, because that room it's the clerk of that committee, I'm pretty sure, that reserves that. No? So, I mean, it's not just Cardin's office, although he obviously is mostly responsible for the situation, but the committee staff as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And those are questions that need to be answered on their behalf, too. Great point, Julie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of this, it just points to the fact that there is something fundamentally wrong with how the two sides they're approaching security. You've got the Democrats who've been mouthing, security, security, security. We have to do everything we can to make sure that we protect these guys. On the other hand, we've got the Democratic House members pulling fire alarms, et cetera. I'm sorry, Julie, I know you got something to add here.
Yeah, I have just follow-up question. This staffer is claiming that, he's the victim in all of this. He put this on, I guess, some sort of group chat. And it went public. It's frankly a little bit similar to the Susanna Gibson situation in Virginia. Yeah. This was a candidate who, performed pornographic videos with her husband, and then it was put on a site that was not password protected. This seems to be a common thing of doing these sort of public things and then claiming victimhood. Do you think that this staffer has any kind of case here that he's the victim here?
Absolutely not at all. I actually find it more disturbing of their subversive attitude with the rule of law, and not only just with the rule of law within that building, but the institution that they're to serve, being a staffer on Capitol Hill. Yeah. And it's absolutely disgusting. And this is the sad state of this display that we have, not just on Capitol Hill, but throughout the country, where we have we have degeneracy when it comes to and disregard for morality for the law, and when we have justice departments, when we have the judicial system that just gives them slaps on the wrist, it further enables those to continue that kind of antics and behavior. And that's the sad state of affair that we're in right now. And I think until that, Capitol Police or Justice Department or the Judiciary Committee steps up and plays much more of a role to say, hey, this kind of behavior will not be allowed, and use the letter of the law to, start charging people with these, with their conduct, unfortunately, it's going to continue to happen.
This aggression will not stand. Chris, we will have to leave it there. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
That's Chris Palombi. He's a former Capitol Police officer. We're so glad he could join us. Right now, it's
WMAL, making sense of party politics, because somebody's got to hold their feet to the fire. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
So it really is the crazy time, Julie Gunlock. As we start to agree with people like John Fetterman, moments of clarity, and now To quote, you were just in Ireland. The old phrase, another county is about to be heard from. Alec Baldwin being attacked by Hamas protesters. Let's see if we can discern what happens in this interaction. Let's go ahead and play that cut, Michael.
What do you mean? You went to Hollywood. Do you condemn Israel for the action?
No, he has to support
Guys and children?
You already got your mind made up whatever question you got, right?
Oh, I'm asking you a question.
I'm in Hollywood.
Is that your answer? Is that your answer?
You ask stupid questions.
Do you condemn?
Ask me a
This is
smart
no one.
question.
Do you condemn Israel? Do you condemn Israel? Do you condemn Israel? Yes, ma'am.
All right. It's just. Sorry, Julie. Go ahead.
He's being surrounded.
Yes.
Surrounded. He's out on the street, and he's been sort of surrounded by these pro-Hamas protesters, and they're saying why won't you talk, or why won't you do this? And he says, you're asking me a stupid question. Ask me a smart question. And he kind of lunges forward. Yeah. As Alec Baldwin does.
Right.
But it really, they were
Hold on,
stupid
Julie.
questions.
Here's a handy tip. If you know the Hollywood actor has a hair trigger temper, and he's used that before, and he's not
killed
afraid
people
to shoot somebody, maybe you ought to think twice about attacking. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, but no,
it's interrupted you.
It is interesting. It is funny how you introduced this and saying,
yes,
the discomfort of agreeing with Alec Baldwin.
Oh. Listen, you can count on folks like Ken Olbermann Jon Stewart to sort of say the nonsense. And normally you can count on Alec Baldwin to do this. It raises another issue, Julie, real quick here, because they talk about this. Hundreds of agitators flooded into Penn Station and Grand Central Station. For the uninitiated, these are two different train stations in New York City. One is on the west side, one sort of in central Manhattan and serves the north and the east, both very crowded at rush hour, serving these commuters. Julie, it underscores this idea of the problem of the flash mob, because we have another story not related to this. The number of flash mob robberies that are happening. We had one at the Chanel store in D.C. over the weekend, where folks just show up to do the smash and grab. I don't know what the answer is here. Here's another a quick clip of Baldwin versus the protesters. Let's play cut 6 here.
You condemn Israel? Yes, ma'am. You condemn Israel? Let's go. Why'd you even come here?
He was walking by. Baldwin was walking by the demonstrations near West 29th Street, so that's relatively near Penn Station in New York, especially the new Penn Station. The irate 30 Rock star jawed out the protesters, who told him he has no effing shame, and belittled his tanking career, while hundreds descended on the major Big Apple transit hubs during the protest opposing Israel's military campaign. Listen, I don't know if you're in with me tomorrow, but maybe we should spend some time talking about this new A24 movie, Civil War, which is bothering me. But I mean, this is where we are now, where we have these big cities that are essentially in control of mobs who are just swarming facilities, and they are completely out of touch with the rest of America. Your thoughts here? What should we do about flash mobs? Is this a problem?
Look, Andrew, it's not flash mobs. It's not this movie. It's not this. It's just our culture is rotten. Yes. It is social media. It is, technology. These things have ruined our culture. And, this is what makes me so mad about this commentary coming from people saying, gosh, the anti-Semitism is really bad. And then you have writers out there for The Atlantic saying things like, that's right. There are anti-Semites on the right and anti-Semites on the left. And this is a real big problem. And this idea that powerless, weird alt-right people who no one pays attention to is just as big a problem as the woke left, which runs universities and Hollywood and the mainstream media. Oh yeah, these are exactly the same problems. Nick Fuentes and some of these leftist media giants and all of Silicon Valley. Yeah. Oh, it's exactly the same. It's so maddening to me because this is what it leads to.
There's a reason why kids under the age of 24, what is it, 2/3 of them believe that the Holocaust is exaggerated and Jews are oppressors. And the reason has nothing to do with the alt-right. It's not Nick Fuentes that is leading all of these people to do it. It is the sometimes not so subtle anti-Semitism in our academic institutions and in our culture generally. We're gonna continue this conversation and talk about this incident over the weekend at the Chanel store. It's 8:23 on WMAL.
Now
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
By the way, Julie, you love that mic drop in the last segment. So we're sitting here talking, my mic falls. Anyway, hi, everybody. It's 8:37 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news. Happy Tuesday to all of you. This, of course, is O'Connor and Company. I am not Larry O'Connor. He is returning presently. I am Andrew Langer, in for him alongside Julie Gunlock. Listen, we've been talking about this story all morning. Actually, we were talking about it yesterday, too, because it is important. This concept of the left not wanting people to reconcile, not wanting people to be brought together. And so as part and parcel of this, they have moved to tear down a reconciliation monument at Arlington National Cemetery. Joining us right now to talk about this is Scott Powell. He's the spokesperson for Defend Arlington, the group that filed the lawsuit on Sunday to halt the memorial removal. He's a senior fellow at the Discovery Institute. Scott, you got granted a temporary injunction on this. It lasts only till tomorrow night. What's the court looking for? Talk to us about it.
Well, of course, an injunction, a temporary injunction, is put in place to protect an asset or property until there's an adjudication. So I believe that this, the courts like to have efficiency. So it's going to be a long process, to battle this in court. And I think the judge wants to decide whether the case has merit, and so that the restraining order might be even turned into an injunction, which means it doesn't have to be renewed until the courts adjudicate. And of course, if the decision is adverse to our side, we will appeal it. We're prepared to go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Do you have any thorny issues of standing? That seems to be the way the left is able to do a lot of this mischief, is because they claim that whoever is challenging it doesn't have standing here. How are you guys grappling with that?
Well, we clearly have standing. It's really the other side that doesn't have standing. They've gone, they moved the cranes into Arlington Cemetery yesterday. They apparently, it's illegal to deface gravestones or to damage anything pertaining to graves. That happened. I think they were not careful. So they've got, and moreover, this process really traces back to the Department of Defense and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. Lloyd Austin was put on notice a week ago, Monday, that's 8 days ago, by 44 congressmen who signed a personal letter to him. It really was more of an order to remind him that the Defense Authorization Bill of 2024 provided no funding for the removal of any monuments in Arlington. So, this is a determined effort to get this done, to get this statue taken down. And your introduction was right spot on.
Thank you.
Why in the world would we as Americans want to take down a monument commemorating reconciliation?
Hear, hear.
This is the Christmas season, and some people have called this the Christmas monument because Christ sent his son into this world to bring reconciliation of sinners, that's all of us, and God. So reconciliation is a very, very noble virtue, and it is part and parcel of who we are as Americans. We are the country of e pluribus unum.
Amen.
One out of many. So we fought a war. The Civil War was a bloody war. It was our most horrendous war There was ill will between the North and the South long after the Civil War. McKinley saw this when the Southern boys volunteered to fight in the Spanish-American War of 1898, and it wasn't just enlistees, it was also Southern officers. They made such a contribution to that war that it was very short. It lasted less than 4 months. Right. And we emerged the other side as being a world power. So McKinley, President McKinley at that time, saw this as an opportunity to bring reconciliation between the North and the South, to really get over the Civil War and the ill will that it engendered. And so this was a monument with a very virtuous and noble purpose. And it's not a monument of any general. This is a work of art. I mean,
Mr. Powell,
Scott,
I really want to get your opinion, though, that, don't you think that this push to get this memorial torn down is because we are in a post-reconciliation world, that the left and the left is driving this. The left does not want reconciliation. The left does not want forgiveness. The left does not want our country to move on. They want us angry at each other. Don't you think that is
Julie,
ultimately the reason?
Absolutely, Julie. You are spot on. This so-called woke revolution, which really is a Marxist cultural revolution, has opened the floodgates of division, demoralization, and destruction in such ways that reveal a new sort of unrestricted warfare against our country. And what we've seen in the last 3 years is a war against merit, against traditional family values, against respect for American heritage, against election integrity, against law enforcement and the military, and clearly against the borders of the United States, opening the doors to 8 to 9 million migrants. And now FBI Director Wray warns us that we're likely to experience domestic terrorism from sleeper cells. Yeah. Well, this is unbelievable. This is a war within the United States. Yep. And our enemies, the Chinese are our number one enemy. They are students of the old famous philosopher Sun Tzu, who said that in warfare, the ultimate approach to warfare is to defeat your enemy without having to fire a shot.
Sure. Hey, Scott, listen, unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Best of luck to you in this. You guys are doing great work. Take care.
Thank you.
That was Scott Powell, spokesperson for Defend Arlington. He's also a senior fellow at the Discovery Institute. We got more to come. It's 8:44 on WMAL.
If you're looking to alleviate the stress and uncertainty of selling your home, especially this time of year, a lot of people, as they're going into the holidays, they say, all right, listen, we've done all our finances. We're in a place where right after New Year's, we're going to list our home, and we're going to start the new year with our home listed. And that makes things stressful. You're not sure what kind of price you're going to get. You're not sure if you can even sell your home. How about you call Sarah and Debbie Reynolds and Power Home Team with Keller Williams? They've got a sell with certainty program. It guarantees your home's going to sell. That's without even having to list it. And at the same time, they're going to get you top dollar. Getting an offer above your home's asking price is fantastic. How about an average of $30,500 more? That's the average Debbie, Sarah, and Reynolds and Power Home Team achieve for their sellers. They've got an exclusive database filled with pre-screened buyers ready to make a purchase today. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Debbie and Sarah, at Reynolds and Power Home Team, 844-344-SOLD, 844-344-SOLD, or DebbieHasTheBuyers.com.
Most online dating profiles are works of fiction. At It's Just Lunch, we are all about fun, real-life dates set up by real dating experts. Save the fiction for your nightstand and call It's Just Lunch today. Visit itsjustlunchdc.com or call 202-466-6699.
Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor today alongside Julie Gunlock, and this was a heck of a story, Julie. We referenced it before. Again, this issue of flash mobs and how they're engaging in crime. This time at a Chanel store on I Street Northwest on Sunday, I believe it was Sunday evening. Armed security guard opening fire. Of course, wow, Julie, he's being investigated for possible improper use of firearms. Or They used a fire extinguisher to distract, and then they began the whole smash and grab. At least they have taste. Yeah. I mean, I say nothing for small favors. At least they have taste.
They don't have taste. They just know what can make a lot of money.
Sure. Okay. Julie, ever the cynic, Julie, ever the cynic.
No, please.
But yeah, this is this thing, right? Why would you have an armed security guard if the armed security guard, right? And why would you send the message that an armed security guard is impotent to act by going and investigating?
I'm actually surprised. I'm actually surprised the security guard did that. But I will say you're absolutely right. I'm sure when he did start firing off rounds, I'm sure they were shocked because thieves have known in Washington D.C. you can get away with it.
Sure.
And you know, and you can do far worse crimes and get away with it. So. Yes, I have no doubt that this armed security guard will soon be facing a hefty jail sentence, not the people who actually robbed the Chanel store.
Trading tweets with Richard Morrison, who's a fellow over at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, talking about carjackings in D.C., and I said somebody could really make a lot of money by selling magnetic decals for cars in D.C., saying, I am armed, and I am not afraid to use my firearms, even if they're not armed in their car, just to have that sign on the side of their car to let folks know. I mean, this is, I am... You were not on when I was talking with, obviously, because I was talking to Patrice about this, the robbery that happened at the Verizon store around the corner from the station. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is, and of course we sort of talk about this. We think that the crime is limited to places like Ward 6 or Ward 8, but of course criminals are coming out to the Chanel stores of the world or a Verizon store in Chevy Chase because that's where it's like what was it? Willie Sutton used to rob banks because that's where the money is. I mean, that's where we are. You got to be careful everywhere, don't you, Julie?
You do, and they're also going to places like Wawa where you might just run in to get something quick, and they're going to liquor stores. So yeah, it's unpredictable. DC is deeply unsafe, and I feel very bad for the people who live here, but in large part those people voted for this and continue to vote for candidates who want to defund the police and turn a blind eye to crime.
So here's the question:
reduce the sentences and allow prosecutors to release these criminals.
So MPD internal affairs officers are investigating whether the guard was justified in firing his weapon. My question is whether or not Chanel is going to sanction him, which then, of course, begs the question, why hire an armed security guard if you're going to turn around and sanction him for doing these things? Some 15 thieves raided the same Chanel on February 12, 2023, according to NBC4. During that robbery, the masked and hooded suspects also used a fire extinguisher as a distraction, WUSA 9 before. So this is either the same people coming back or a copycat attack here. But one can also expect, listen, I would also expect that at some point in time, stores like Chanel are simply not gonna reopen. They're going to close up shop, as other stores have done, right? I drove past that Walmart that was over on H Street North, like I guess it was H Street Northwest, over on Capitol Hill, that's now closed up. Remember much ballyhoo when that was recommended. But you're absolutely correct. This is what the DC voters have voted for. This is a real problem. Listen, it's 8:52 here on O'Connor and Company, WMAL. Well, thank you very much, Julie Gunlock, for hosting with me. I will be back with her tomorrow. You got one more day with me. And then Larry comes back. What do we got, Chris Plant, on your show today? All sorts of things happening in the world.
All sorts of things happening. Did you know that on Capitol Hill, the Democrats started a rumor with the Hart Senate office building, the video. The Democrats started a rumor that it was Republicans on the Hill. Sure. Of course. Sure, naturally. And, they give it a try. They were going to turn it into January 6th all over again. It was going to be the new thing. But didn't work out for him. I love the Chanel store story that you're telling as well. Yeah, armed security. But the Democrats will put armed security in jail to protect their sons who are looting the world.
It's the second time they were hit, Chris. Second time with fire extinguishers.
Yeah, like you said, they know what's expensive.